Yo, get in, chop.
I'm a bit self-aware, sometimes it's fucked up, but life is gonna lie, so I ain't gonna slow up. I'm on a mission to change the face of mental health, kicking knowledge to my people, cause you know that health is wealth. It's your lucky day, cause you tuned into the greatest. I can straddle to survive, sometimes we fake it till we make it. If your mental health is slipping, then please don't touch that dial down. Yo, what's up, you guys? It's your girl, Treaty LPC, and thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Self-Aware and Effed Up podcast. I am really excited to talk to today's guest. I've known her for several years, and I was really shocked when she reached out and said she wanted to be on the podcast. And I was even more shocked when she said what she wanted to talk about on the podcast. So you guys are truly in for a treat today. I am speaking with Elizabeth Edouard. She is a licensed professional counselor here in the state of Georgia, and she is also the co-host of the Haitian-American podcast. I had the opportunity to check out a couple of episodes, and I am really, really excited to just talk to her and to learn a little bit more about her story. I've known her from a professional level, but I'm really getting interested in learning a little bit more about who she is underneath the whole professional side of her. So without further ado, please welcome to the Self-Aware and Effed Up podcast, Elizabeth Edouard. Hey, Liz, how you doing today?
Hi. I love that you pronounced my last name correctly. That's probably like one of the biggest part of like my identity is like being Haitian-American. My parents are from Haiti. I grew up in New Jersey, but really like heavily influenced by Haitian culture, and all of that encompasses, if you have any Haitian-American listeners, they probably understand what that means. And I'll kind of get into that a little bit more, but I am the youngest of two. So I have an older sister, very, very close, the two of us. We do have our podcast, the Haitian-American Diaries. It's something that the two of us have done together since 2020. I'm also, like you said, a licensed professional counselor. So I do see clients here and there on the side, not something that I've stayed consistent with, but I do like to keep up the license that I went to school and got a master's degree for. And I like even yesterday, I had a really, really good session with a client that is struggling with anxiety. And like, he was like, this is just really helping me. You have no idea. And those are the moments where I'm like, okay, I do enjoy this. And then I get burnt out for a little bit. And then I'm like, oh, I really do enjoy this. So that's part of kind of something that I do, because primarily I do administrative work within the mental health field, but I do like to kind of dabble in supporting people as well. So it's a little bit about me.
Okay. And I will be honest with you. You have told me how to say your last name multiple times, but I feel like you were saying Edouard or something, or maybe you were kind of Americanizing it. I don't know. But let me tell you how I learned how to say your last name. I was listening to an episode of your podcast, and you had the last episode that had posted, and you had an actor on there, and he said your name. And that's why I was like, oh, it's Edouard. Okay, that's easy. All you had to do was just spell it phonetically for me, and then I'm good from there. But I was like, okay, I learned something new. But I really appreciate you being here, though, because I'm really curious to know a little bit more about, just your background and what you do. Like, we've known each other over the last 7 years, but like, I really just want to go deeper into just your background, because I don't think I even knew you were Haitian until like maybe 2 years after knowing you.
Part of the whole facade, I guess you'll say.
Okay.
I think, even the last name part, like I said, I do tend to like Americanize it when I say it. My sister is like the complete opposite for me. She's like very strong-minded and like, this is who I am and deal with it or not kind of thing. And I'm like the 100% opposite of like, let me make it better for people. Let me not stress it. Let me not make it a big deal. But yes, it's Edouard. It's a Haitian French last name. And growing up, I used to just say like Edward. I would just say like, my last name's Edward. Like, I don't want to deal with like people that can't pronounce it, because especially in the 90s, like we would get people that would say our last name in every possible way except they would not even just do Edward. They would be like Edouard, Edouard, Eduardo, Eduardo. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Okay.
Like, why do we have to do this? Nowadays, I don't know if people are just more like versed in different cultures or what it is, but I rarely get people that pronounce it wrong or like go off too far. Like it's really pretty close. So I always think that's pretty interesting. But like, just like growing up in the 90s, it was taboo, I guess you would say, to be Haitian or seem wrong, or it was very negative. And that was probably the biggest part of like what shaped me as a person, is almost dimming that in a lot of ways. As like I on our podcast, we talk about like being, people being bullied, people being like tormented and like really made to feel like you're just not enough. You're not good enough because you come from Haiti, your parents come from Haiti, you have a Haitian background. And so my sister and I, like, I guess, never really came off as Haitian to people. Like I always got like, you don't look Haitian, or you don't act Haitian, you don't sound Haitian. And maybe some of it was purposeful. Like our parents were very much like, didn't want us to have an accent, didn't want us to like have any type of like flow in our speech that would single us out in any way. So my dad always says like, you sound like you could be like on TV or something. And I'm like, I probably just picked that up because y'all were so purposeful about like, people want you to like present a certain way, or people will accept you more if you present a certain way. And so that kind of just turned into this.
Wow.
Whoever this is.
Gotcha. What was, I guess, the issue with you just being able to be yourself? Like, was there, because I really don't know, like, the context of what it was like to be Haitian growing up, and what, I guess, relations, like, why did you have to hide that part of yourself in, I guess, the mainstream society of US or Jersey or whatever?
So I grew up in, like, Newark, New Jersey, predominantly, like, Black culture, African-American, and I mean, kids were mean, and not saying like Black kids are mean, just kids are mean in general. You know what I mean? Like, and it was always like, just present yourself as Black then, so like you fit in. And especially in that time, like it was very, like that area is very like rooted in like Black culture, in the sense of like being cool and, coming off, you can just like vibe with everyone, like, and so like being, I guess, coming off as like too rigid or too like uppity or anything like that was really like, it's going to look off. So like, I was always trying to like be accepted in a sense. And so like, if that turned into anything else, like I saw close friends get like really severely bullied just because their parents came to school and they couldn't speak English, and luckily my parents spoke English. My parents could read and write and all that because they came into the country, with education. But for the friends that I knew that their parents just came here and were trying to start a new life, like it was a struggle for them. And I was like, I don't want that for me. I don't want that.
Gotcha. So. Yeah. So you learned to kind of assimilate to the Black American culture in your area, and you feel like you lost pieces of yourself, or you feel like how has your identity just overall been impacted by having to essentially learn to be a different person in order to not be bullied and to survive, I guess, in this thing called life?
It was so a lot. The funny thing of that is that for my parents, for a lot of Haitian parents, it's like, well, make sure you talk well, make sure you present well, make sure you're well polished, make sure you're, this and that. And so it was kind of a struggle because like, I feel like for Black culture, it's not so much like being rigid. It's like just being expressive and free and, yourself, like exuding yourself, exuding confidence in whatever that looks like. But for me, it was like a very like dimmed, like, I can only do this. And even when I was around like my Black friends, like I never felt like it was authentic for me to just be like free and like, whatever, like I just say what I want and act like I want and be happy normally. Gotcha. Like I always felt like I was like, but my parents say I have to be like polite and quiet and kind, and like that was what I was doing. And so like it always even felt awkward in those senses. Like,
gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I always felt like you just were well put together, like very, always professional. How I am, like very much whatever you see is what you get. I can be professional, but fuck all of the, like I gotta act a certain way or whatever. Like, do you feel like you've made any progress towards breaking free from having to be put together all the time?
I think the biggest thing for me, and I think even for clients that I see that struggle in that way, I think for some people, like I've seen clients and like I try to put that mirror up against their face, like, are you being yourself? And they're like, I've had clients like don't even want to see me anymore. They're just like, disappear. You know what I mean? Like, gotcha. I don't want to go there. You know what I mean? Like, this is how I feel I am. But for me, I think the biggest thing is being around people that I feel like I can let go with. Like my sister, obviously, like she knows like the real true me that, my sarcasm and my darkness and all that kind of stuff. Okay. My boyfriend, like I think presented early on, like very, very sweet, very demure, very,
not demure. I can't even say that damn word. Okay.
Very cutesy, that whole thing, and that's generally like my initial like come off. Like that's how I present. And like maybe like over time he's probably seen like, oh, she's a little oh, okay. She's a little more normal or not as, I guess rigid. I have people told me like, when I first met you, I thought you were a bitch. And I'm like, I'm not. Or like, I thought you were stuck up or whatever it is. And I'm like, no. So I think I've struggled with that too, is like when I'm more quiet or reserved, I've gotten like, you're stuck up, you're a bitch, you're this. So I try to be nicer, like overly nice, like, okay, I'm nice, I'm a good person. So it's like the inner workings of my mind have been, it's become a lot over time.
Okay. So how do you pull down the guard and how do you help clients kind of get to that space where they're able to really strip away like the them that they have to present to the world to just being the you that shows up when it's just you and your sister? Like how do you navigate it personally, and how do you help clients tap into just being their true selves?
Personally, I always gravitate to people that are that complete opposite. I think that's probably why my sister and I are so close, because she's like, you know what I mean? Like she's going to show up and be like, what do you want from me? Like, this is who I am, which I love about her. Like I look up to her a lot in that sense, because she's just unapologetically her. Like that's it. And my spouse, he's the same, he's very like just himself. He's a gamer. He's, he doesn't care what people think. He's into his stuff. He goes to like Dragon Con and Comic Con and he dresses up. His friends don't dress up at all. And his friends are like super cool kind of guys. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to dress up, whatever. Like I gravitate to people that are more able to like exude that in themselves, because in ways like it pulls that out of me in a lot of ways. Like my family is also very much like, it's weird because they're all very much themselves. And I'm like, how did I end up like being this, like I have to be this way when like most of them are, just who they are kind of thing. So it's being surrounded by people like that, because I think over time, as I've gotten older, I'm more aware of how much, I portray a different version of myself than probably I would like to. So I think that's probably what's helped me the most. And even with clients, like I try to just talk to them about like, even just in therapy, start off with me. Like if there's something you don't like, if there's something that I'm saying, if there's, a guide or a path that I'm taking you on that doesn't feel right, let's start there. Like start with just saying like, hey, I don't think this is working right now. Because if you want to be honest with anyone and you can't be honest with the people in your life, be honest with your therapist, be real with me. I'm not going to take offense to it. Like I want you to get the most out of it. So that's probably one of the places that I start with them, is like, if there's a certain thing you want to talk about and I'm going off course, hey, what do this doesn't help me. This isn't right. So, and then really just telling them like, if they even for people that struggle with like assertive communication, that's probably one for me too, is let's do that here, like let's let you be more assertive in the way that we're talking. And then maybe I can be like, hey, back that up a little bit. You know what I mean? That's a little too much. Right. Or say like, these are some things that we can work on. So I think sometimes even in my therapy, I'll talk to people and I'm like, I see a little bit of myself here,
Mm-hmm.
and that also has helped where I'm like, oh, wow, like maybe this is how I'm showing up too. This is how people are seeing or perceiving or receiving something that I'm doing. So I learn in both aspects, professionally and personally.
Gotcha. Yeah. You said a lot, and I'm gonna be honest with you. The thing that stuck out to me the most was how we go from boyfriend to spouse. Like, what was the?
I I always so I usually see a lot of stuff where like, isn't it weird to be like in your 30s and call someone your boyfriend? Or isn't it weird? And funny enough, he always says spouse, like in like certain settings. Like if people come to the door, he'll be like, "Oh, my spouse, isn't here," or da, da, da. So like I use it interchangeably sometimes because I'm like, oh.
I was like, did I miss something between like? But okay, that's just me going off on a tangent in my mind. But I love being able to kind of confront that part of yourself, like that it feels like you have to always be together, and then being around people where you can just naturally be yourself. Because I mean, it's freeing to be able to not have to put on a facade in order to be able to connect with people. Because I feel like when you have to do that, people don't get to know you, but it can also impact the quality of the relationships that you build. How has that impacted your journey in terms of like, just being able to connect with people, but also trying to show up in a particular way?
That's like a really good question, because I've had a lot of friendships that I've had since I was 15 where like we're best friends, and like they'll be like, Liz, like you never changed, like you the real one, and they do know me, like they're like yeah, and then they see me in like work, or they'll like come over and they're like, dang, like who that? Like,
right.
And I'm like, listen, I'm in work mode, and my sister always laughs, and she's like, when Liz is in work mode, don't mess with her. So it has been good in those aspects to have the people that like are closest to me that I can just say what I want. And I know like when Liz wants to leave somewhere, she's going to leave. Like, that's it. Those are the things that I'm like, I don't care. Like, this is who I am. And then I've had people where maybe the nice or the too nice side of me has been taken advantage of. I've trusted people that I probably shouldn't have trusted, and shared a lot of myself. And I think that's the biggest part, like sharing so much of yourself because you're like, oh, I want to connect with people. I want people to know the real me, and then get burned on the other side, which probably in some ways like hinders or limits my ability to be more open and honest to people because of those times that it's happened. And it's, happened even recently in my 30s, being like, oh, this is someone that I can trust, and like, let's talk. And then all of a sudden my business is running around the workplace, and I'm like, what the heck?
Wow. Not the workplace.
Yeah. I'm like, dang, I thought we were, I thought you were sharing, I was sharing, so I'm thinking we're keeping our sharing in our circle. And now like someone else has popped up. I'm like, okay, let's forget it.
Gotcha. It can definitely be drama, but it's hard to kind of trust certain people. Like you have to really know people to really be able to be that vulnerable with them in some aspects. But yeah, so the version of you that I've known, has that been the professional Liz, or have I gotten to see a little bit of, the free Liz?
So something about like your personality, like you're the type of person that I would gravitate to because you're so like, just you funny and out, just like, I'm going to say what I want to say in the best way possible. But I just appreciate your just style in general as a person. So like my interactions with you have generally been like when we were in person, have been generally genuine for the most part. Like, on IM, it's, now we're more far removed. We don't interact with as much. Right. So it's like, let's keep it nice and whatever. But I generally have spoken to you in like my more authentic way. Like,
okay, that's good. That's good to know.
Like you're like an accepting person, or you like exude an energy that like allows people to just be themselves. So that's
gotcha. That's fair. I was just curious. I was like, okay, because I obviously like, when I was like, okay, well, what do you want to talk about on the show? I was like, when you said that, I was like, oh, what do you mean? Like, you don't show up at your So I'm just like, I was a little bit confused, but I was like, yeah, that's it's a really good topic to discuss. But I am a little bit curious about your podcast. Like I only got a chance to look at a couple of episodes to like just really get a feel for how you guys do things and better understanding. But like what prompted you guys to create it? And can you tell me a little bit more about your process with that?
Mm-hmm. So funny, like when we were little, we used to record ourselves on cassette, like doing like commercials and full on like radio shows.
Okay.
Like in the 90s, like you're always listening to radio. Like that was most of your time is taken up. So we used to be like, we can do this. So we would full on, like we would be the hosts, the commercials. Like, I don't know if you remember like the Dr. Zizmore commercials. Like, I'm Dr. Zizmore and I can help you look your best. Like we would do these, just go in depth. It was ridiculous. And so like during COVID, I was just kind of like, I want to do something. Like, everybody was just kind of like stuck and their life was boring. And I'm like, we should do something. So I called my sister and I'm like, remember how we used to do those tapes and those radio shows? Okay. What if we did a podcast? And I was like, we could talk about being Haitian, like, and that's just kind of how it came to be. And my sister now, she's really taking the reins because in the beginning it was like my project. And now she's like, I'll get the guests. I'll, get the questions. And now people just reach out to us, honestly. Like, we don't even do a lot of like, hey, do you want to be on? Like, random people just be like, oh, I'm a Haitian boxer and I'd like to be on your thing. I'm a Haitian actor. I'd like to be on your podcast. And it's just worked out in that way. So it's been more like less pressure and less like a lot of work because we're kind of like going with the flow and probably sometimes don't stay as consistent as we should be. like 6 months, no episode. Our friends like, so what cadence are y'all on now annually? Right. So, but we try to be okay, better about it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I love that. When I was researching and trying to learn a little bit more about it, because one, I did not know you had a podcast until you wrote me the other day and told me that.
I don't really share stuff on social media.
I mean, so I'm like, I had no clue. So let me go research. And, but yeah, I was like, okay, 2020, y'all been at it for a while. And I mean, a lot of podcasts like struggle to stay after a year or after a couple of episodes. So you guys definitely, doing a lot of good work. And also, when I saw the actor on there, I was like, oh, okay, they doing it big. Cause like when he came in, I was like, okay, he got good energy. Like it really seems like good. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So y'all been doing it for several years. And it seems like it's really a good vibe to listen to. So I'm definitely going to check out some more episodes because I don't think like, as someone that's a Black American born in, the States, I don't really think about fully how other Black cultures, interact and like some of the challenges or whatever. But I've recently had more clients that were from the Haitian background and, I've learned a little bit more about the culture there. How do you kind of navigate between, keeping those parts of yourself that are Haitian while also trying to navigate through the world that we live in the US and just the climate of the US?
I think, because when people see me, like, they just see a Black person, right. And they're not seeing like, oh, she's Haitian, oh, she has this background or whatever. So in a lot of ways, like, I am, a Black person in America, but in my life, like, even with like my boyfriend's spouse, whatever we want to call him today, he's just Black American. So like his parents came over like a month ago because we just moved into a new house and they were like, oh, we want to see the house. So in Haitian culture, like when guests come over, special guests, you always make fried pork, fried plantains. That's kind of your presenting dish. It's always a thing. So I said, I'm going to make that he actually said, you should make a Haitian dish or you should make some special Haitian dish or whatever. And I was like, you're right. Like, I am going to do that. So I made that for them. So it's just little things like that, trying to like express myself in those ways. I don't think his parents even knew that I was Haitian. So I was like, hey, my parents are from Haiti. This is something that we normally do. I want to share my culture with you. So in those ways, I try to blend the two. One of our best friends, he recently is like, why did you all never teach me how to speak Creole? And I'm like, what? Like, what is people's fascination all of a sudden with, our culture, which is great. But we like randomly will like teach him words. just like little things, just trying to like spread that with other people. Cause like you said, some people don't really understand Haitian culture or know much about it. So in little ways, like sharing the food, sharing the language, I think that kind of helps open people's eyes a little bit.
Gotcha. Yeah. Again, I think it's great to be able to present your culture. Like I don't, like when people feel like they have to hide parts of themselves and they can't show up authentically, like I just feel like it makes them mask who they truly are. Like I've had clients before, Hispanic clients who have assimilated and they don't own any parts of their culture. And it's kind of like you erased your history, but you also kind of erased a part of yourself. So I'm glad that you're finding ways to keep that as a part of who you are and sharing that. You can say, oh, I'm a Black American, but the truth is culturally you're Haitian, and that's a big part of your identity. And, I know you've had to hide it for so long, but definitely be bold, be you.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. The good thing is my parents are so Haitian, I guess you'll say, like, you know what I mean? Like they're, they have like American aspects. They've assimilated to American culture, but like at the end of the day, like when my mom talks to us, she switches back between like Haitian, Creole, and English. So we're hearing like in one sentence, she's probably going to switch back and forth in like 3 different times kind of thing. So, which is always interesting and kind of cool where you're like, how does my brain do that? That I just, listen to 2 different things happening at once. So that, I think that helps because that's never going to go away. Like your parents, that what they gave us growing up, my grandparents didn't speak English much. So we spoke Creole with them. Maybe if I have kids one day, maybe I'll share a little bit of that so it doesn't completely just start fading off. If I'm not married to a Haitian person, like then it's, there's that chance it just dims over time.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was wondering, like, do you still speak Creole? Do you speak Haitian? I don't know the differences between the two. I'm ignorant in that, but you said they speak all 3 in the same sentence. So I'm like, okay, I'm learning a lot today.
I wanted to specify Haitian Creole because I saw someone somewhere where there were Beyonce or something was in some interview like way back. And she was like, oh yeah, my mom speaks Creole. And then they were like, they thought she was talking about Haitian Creole, but she was talking about like New Orleans type. Language. And I was like, oh, do people like think it's the same thing? Because it's 2 different things. So I was like,
yes, we do. We do.
Yeah, I was like, I like Haitian Creole and like that New Orleans type of dialect is 2 different things. So I was like, oh, I don't think I realized,
Are there other versions of that? Like
Haitian Creole is like very specific to like French and Spanish dialect mixed together. And then the New Orleans dialect is very, I don't really know it or how it sounds, but it's not the same.
Gotcha. Yeah, I always thought that theirs was more French. Just based on,
it is a little more French. Yeah. Ours has like a mixture because, we were colonized by, Spanish and French. So we have like the French and the Spanish in our language. So a lot of words that are in Creole are in Spanish. Like I learned Spanish and I'm like, oh, that's the same word. Cool.
Okay. Gotcha. I feel like it's like that in Curacao too. When I visited there, they were it's like a mix of French and Spanish and how they mix their words. And I was just like, okay, I could probably learn this if I was here long enough to really be immersed in the culture. But yeah, so a lot of different mixtures of things culturally. But
St. Lucia is the same. Like they use some version of our Creole, their link. Because I remember my mom had a friend from St. Lucia back in the day, and would be like, "Oh, it's almost the same language but different." There's like a change. So I don't know how that came to be.
Gotcha. Okay, good deal. Good deal. Why would you make sure you keep your culture alive? Don't let it die out with you, because your parents still speak it, but sometimes you got to stay up on it. So
mine is broken. Mine is not that great at all.
Listen, you got to be immersed.
When we go to Haiti, we're like, it's like stuttering the whole time because I'm like, I thought I could speak this better, but when you're in it with someone it's their fluent language and that's it, like you get stuck. And I'm like, oh, I'm not that good as I thought I was. So.
Gotcha. That's gonna be me in a couple of weeks in Puerto Rico, thinking I can speak Spanish fluently. But only when I'm drunk.
Duolingo. Get your Duolingo going.
Oh, I got Duolingo. You on there? I think we're friends on Duolingo. But yeah. But I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to ask you, how do you personally connect with the idea of being self-aware and fucked up?
The idea, that was probably the thing when I saw, like I'm a lurker on social media. So I watch your stuff, I listen, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a pretty cool podcast. Like, and even just the name is pretty cool. And so I was like, I feel like I'm self-aware and fucked up. Like I am aware of my, probably inability or lack of ability to show up and be like 100% me. But I'm fucked up in the way that I can't, it's hard for me to get out of it, as aware as I am. Like I struggle with like doing it or being myself as much as I can. So I think that was probably when I saw it, I was like, I feel like I probably have a story to tell in that aspect. And a lot of people probably struggle with that. And as I've seen in therapy. So
yeah, struggle with it too. Like I'm not at the point of full self-actualization of like just being completely myself in all spaces. We're all a work in progress. I know that for me, I can find myself code switching in moments where I don't really want to be code switching, because fuck that. Why do I need to be anything other than myself, especially in work environment? Like I don't speak like that normally. So why am I talking like this in this way? I think we should all be able to be ourselves like 100% of the time. But there's that part of us that's always going to be, as Black people, that's always going to just naturally assimilate depending on who we're speaking to. And I mean, it is what it is. I think part of it is a part of culture, and I try as much to kick against it as possible, but shit happens. Sometimes you get self-conscious and you just really want to make sure you're presenting polished, and it's bullshit, but we do it.
It's bullshit. It is, but I mean, it's just become so normal for me that it's like it's me most of the time than others. So
yeah, gotcha. Well, again, keep working. You got this.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep trying. Maybe by the time I'm 40, which is coming up fast, maybe by the time I'm 40, I'll be like, oh, I'm just me. Who cares?
Gotcha. I mean, there is something that happens when you turn 40, and it's like the last fuck that you might have had to give, you lose it. So you might be right about that.
Turn 40, so I feel like that's happened to her, because I'm like, Jenny, you can't say that. She's like, why can't I?
You don't give a fuck after you turn 40. I promise you. I'm 2 years in, and I'm like, fuck that. I don't care. Even at work, I'd be like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. You go fire me, you go fire me. Like I'm just at that point in life. So yeah, you probably will be like, fuck all of this shit when you turn 40.
I'm tired of this.
Right. Just be yourself. 100%. Yeah. Gotcha. But I appreciate you reaching out and wanting to share your story and sharing this space with me today. I feel like I learned a lot more today than I have in 8 years-ish. So I appreciate that. How can people connect with you? How can they stream your podcast? You got a website. Like, how can they connect?
We have our Instagram at Haitian-American Diaries. If you want to be on our podcast, just email haitian-american-diaries@gmail.com. So just how it said. And then you can listen to our podcast, the Haitian-American Diaries, on any platform that does podcasts. So Apple, Spotify, you name it, we're there. So, and even if you just type Haitian podcast, I think ours is like one of the first ones that show up, or like in the top 3 to show up, which is cool. Whenever we do, we're like, oh, look, like all you have to do is say Haitian podcast and we show up. So if you don't remember the name and you just type that, you'll see us. So find us, listen to us. We try to keep it fun. We try to share a lot of like inspirational stories, or just sharing like Haitian people that are succeeding, especially like millennial Haitians, really like succeeding and making a good name for us and showcasing Haitians in a positive light. And then we've had people from different other cultures, people from Indian culture, Hispanic culture, just other Caribbean cultures overall. So we try to switch it up so it's not just, you're just hearing from like the Haitian point of view. So we do try to, give a little something for everybody. We did try to dabble into like some politics, and then we were like, maybe it's not a good idea. So we ended up just steering away from that and just kind of keeping it on brand for what we're doing.
Gotcha. I love that. And I love the idea of the podcast. And it definitely seems like you guys are talking about some great stuff. And I really want to make sure that people are connecting with you. So, guys, please make sure that you connect with Liz. The information of how you can connect with her and listen to the podcast will be in the description of this episode. Also, be sure to follow me, Tree the LPC, on all social media platforms under the handle Tree the LPC. Until next time, be safe, be well, and make sure that you take care of your mental health.